Hi there, welcome to a new video. It's Bibi Cameron for Neat and Tangled, and today I will be sharing a very easy technique to add color to card backgrounds using stencils and color pencils. And I'm going to be using 3 stencils today. This one here is called Radiant Start, and this one here Modern Triangles. I'm also going to be using this one here, which is just stunning. It's called Geometric Blooms. The first thing I'm going to do today is to emboss the paper using the stencils. I really like to do this. It's not completely necessary, but if you are thinking in getting really nice definition in that stencil image when adding inks, this is a really nice thing to do. So I want to share that with you today. So I'm going to set the machine like if I was going to use an embossing folder. I'm going to place this embossing plate just there. And here I have an embossing mat. I'm going to place the mat just there, and then on top I'm going to place the paper. This is Bristol paper. Then I'm going to place the stencil like that. I'm going to place the other plate on top, and I'm going to add to this sandwich 2 pieces of cardstock. This is 210 grams cardstock, so it's not so thin, and this has to run through the machine really smoothly. So as simple as that, I can get that beautiful and perfect impression of the stencil on the paper. And this is a thick paper, it's a 270 grams paper. So I'm going to do it again using another stencil and also using Bristol paper. So I do exactly the same, and all the times I'm doing this is going to work perfectly. Very important is that the machine doesn't have to make any noise and it has to run smoothly. So you can see there that embossed pattern. Now I'm going to use watercolor paper. This is 300 grams watercolor paper, so you can emboss really thick paper with these stencils with no problem. So I'm going to do exactly the same here, and I'm going to run this through the machine. So here I have my watercolor paper embossed, and you can see how well defined is that pattern on the paper. I'm also going to use a darker piece of cardstock to emboss it with the stencils, because I'm also planning to add color with metallic pencils. I have never used metallic pencils to do this before, so I'm going to give them a try today. So I have finished this piece as well, and today I'm going to be using this spray adhesive. This purple bottle here is a new favorite in my craft room because you can spray this behind paper to create mask, and it's very easy to remove from the paper. You can also spray this behind your stencils, and then they are going to stay very flat and stable on your paper. So I'm loving this adhesive. Then you have this one here, which is permanent. So this one here, I cannot love it, but it's not so essential. And after 2 minutes, it provides a permanent bond. And this one here is adhesive remover. And you need it to easily clean any surface or stencils you have sprayed with this other adhesive. So I think they make the work a little bit easier, and I wanted to share that with you in this video. So now I'm going to spray the stencils with a stick and a spray. And now I'm going to place the stencil on that embossed paper, and I need to make sure that that embossed image is perfectly aligned with the stencil. Once I have this done, I'm going to start applying the color. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab my Faber-Castell polychromos, and I'm going to use the pencil shavings to add color. I have shown this in previous videos to add colors to backgrounds, but today I'm going to use it with stencils. So I have to get rid of these wooden beads, and I like to use these kind of sponges. You can use makeup sponges, or you can buy NUVO sponges, which are super nice. And I'm going to apply a little bit of oil, like so. Then I'm going to lift those pencil shavings with the sponge, or I'm going to grab those little pencil shavings, and I'm going to start spreading that color on the paper in circular motion. you will get the color as saturated as you want. You can reapply the color, you can blend colors, and this is going to perform like inks. It's truly nice, very subtle, but you can also go really, really bright and intense. So this is completely up to you. Today I want to go subtle, and I want to do very, very basic cards just to explain the technique and also to show you how beautiful these stencils are. And to be honest, when I'm using this kind of beautiful stencils and creating this kind of backgrounds, I don't like to add something to cover the work I'm doing. I just like to add a small die cut word, a small image, or some small decorative element that allow me to show the work I just made. So I remove the stencil and I'm done. I'm going to use a brush to remove any pencil shaving from the panel, and this is done. Okay, I'm going to show you really quick another samples using different color pencils. In this case, I'm going to use Chameleon and I'm going to mix different purple shades. You can use so many colors that you want, or you can just use one single color. So I'm going to blend this really quickly to show you a final result using these pencils. So there you go. These pencils also perform nicely. I feel I have to apply more color than with the polychromos, but at the end of the day, they do the work. I have done that with other kind of Faber-Castell pencils as well, and they work nicely. Now I'm going to use watercolor paper and watercolor pencils. I'm going to use red watercolor pencils. You will notice that some watercolor pencils doesn't have pencil shavings like the color pencils or traditional color pencils. Don't worry, they are going to work, and you can also mix them with other kind of watercolor pencil shavings. I'm going to keep the watercolor paper completely dry, and I'm going to grab a damp sponge. This sponge is just slightly wet, and I'm going to start applying the color in the same way I apply color with the color pencils. In this case, you will see that the color is very, very light and soft. But if you want the color to be more intense, all you have to do is to allow this layer of color to dry and then apply another layer of color. As I knew this card was going to be extremely simple, I wanted to add some sparkle, and I'm going to splatter some of this gold metallic watercolor paint, which is extremely beautiful. It adds a really nice shiny golden accents to cards. So that's the panel. And the next I'm going to do is to clean the stencils. I'm going to show you how to clean them. So you can use water just like that, just to get rid of the watercolor pencil in this case. But definitely the stick away is going to make a huge difference when you clean this. All I have to do is just to spray the stencils and then use this kind of kitchen paper or a towel to just clean the stencils like that. And then I'm just using soapy water to just completely clean my stencils, free of any stain, just keep your products nice and neat. So another thing is I'm going to show you this last sample here, and I'm going to be using these metallic Spectrum Noir color pencils. These color pencils provide a really lovely result on dark cardstock. And my first thought was, oh, come on, I'm going to fill in the color just like that. But then I thought, no, I have to stick to my technique today, which is using the color pencil shavings. But I knew that it might be difficult to blend this kind of color pencils with oil. And I was right. So I basically covered my cardstock with oil. That was all I did. I know there is a special blending solution or a solvent to blend this kind of color pencils, and I didn't got it. It's also by Spectrum Noir. So you can be sure that this is not going to blend with baby oil. I tried to push the color pencil shavings through the stencil with my fingertip, and it kind of worked, but it definitely didn't give the results I wanted. So I ended up by doing it as I thought at first time. So I just add the color pencil like so. It didn't took me that long with this stencil. It took me about 5 minutes, and I enjoy it. I just fill in the color, and I was trying to make it look as even as possible, but I therefore will need the solvent to get the results I want. So this is how it's looking now, and I decided going in another direction. You know, when I'm crafting, sometimes I start working with one idea and I ended up with another one. So I just add a little bit of distress ink because I feel that the edges of those stencil images were not looking so sharp as I like. So I apply this distress ink at the center of those blooms and also at the edges, kind of trying to give them shape. But when I remove the stencil, I really feel that it needed something else. And of course, I'm kind of loving the possibilities by doing something like this, but I have to do something extra. So I replace the stencil, and instead adding a dark ink, I added a white ink. And I was more happy with the result. I applied very little ink, knowing as well that the color pencils tend to waterproof the paper or to resist also any ink you put on top. You really need to allow the ink to dry, because if you touch that, the ink is going to smear or just it's not going to stay on the paper. But I kind of like it more this way, and I'm not sure if you see the difference there. You can see before and after. It's a very small difference, but it's a difference. So these are all the panels I made, and then I stayed for a while and I transformed completely one of these panels, which is this one here, and I was just making an experiment with that panel. So at the end of the day, to rescue it, I just covered it completely with color, but you can still see the embossed pattern. And to add these backgrounds to a card, I simply die cut them using this die, which is going to add a nice decorative edge to those panels. So you can see that there. And once I finish my panels, I'm going to use a couple of dies by Neat and Tangled, which is these ones here. The names are in the screen in this moment. So they come two in a package. So you have the kind of the backing for the word, and that one I'm going to cut it from vellum. And this one here, I'm going to use this navy blue cardstock, and I'm also going to use a silver kind of metallic cardstock and white cardstock to die cut these words. So I'm going to use my Tangerine die cutting machine by Tonic Studios, because I found this to be the best machine I have or I own in this moment, and it really cut the paper like butter. You won't have a problem to cut a paper with this die cutting machine, but of course you can use any machine you have, because this dies works with the vast majority of die cutting machines available in the market, so you won't have a problem working with them. And look at that, they are just stunning. So I'm going to put all these bits together to create the sentiments for the cards today, and I'm using here permanent adhesive, and this one is just amazing to work with vellum. This is the spray. You will see me working with another glues as well. You can work with any glue you have. This is just a suggestion in case you want to give it a try, but I really like it. So I'm going to play some music while I finish this, and you can see how I put the cards together. And this is an extra but very important card. I just put it together from scratch. I have over my table with things I was trying when I was creating these other cards for you today, because I really want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'm sending all my love to you and your family, and stay tuned because there is a new release coming soon. Subscribe to this channel for more ideas and inspiration, or visit the blog. The link is in the video description. You will find their supply list and many more ideas for your paper craft projects. Thank you very much for watching and happy crafting. Bye!